There's a tiny house shape that Genghis Khan figured out 800 years ago that modern builders are only now catching up to, and it is not the shape you are picturing in your head. It is round. No corners, no hallways, no wasted square footage. Just one open circle that somehow feels bigger than houses twice its size. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you why the round, tiny house might be the single most underrated floor plan in the entire tiny house world, and the one hidden problem that stops most people from ever building one. Before we get into it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this channel breaks down real tiny house builders, real 2026 pricing, and real floor plans every single week. No fluff, no sponsor nonsense, just the truth about what these homes actually cost. Okay, let us get into the round house. A round tiny house, sometimes called a rotunda house, is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of four walls meeting at 90-degree corners, the entire structure is built as a circle or sometimes a series of circles connected together. Picture a yurt, but built to last generations instead of a camping season. Wood framed, insulated, permitted, plumbed, wire the whole thing. This is not a new idea dressed up for YouTube. Mongolian yurts have used this shape for over 1,000 years because a circle is structurally the most efficient way to enclose space. Native American hogans and teepees use the same logic, building round or near round to shed wind and snow instead of fighting it. Long before power tools existed, builders across completely different cultures landed on the same shape independently, because the physics of a circle simply works. In the modern era, a company called Deltec Homes has been building round homes out of Asheville, North Carolina since 1968, and they are still one of the biggest and most respected names in round home construction today. So this is not some experimental fringe idea. It is one of the oldest housing shapes on Earth, engineered with modern materials, permitting and finishes, and now shrunk down to the tiny house scale. Here is the part most videos skip. A circle encloses more area with less perimeter than any other shape. That is just math. The formula for the perimeter of a circle is 2 times pi times the radius, and it grows far slower than the perimeter of a square as you add floor area, which means a round tiny house uses meaningfully less wall material to enclose the same amount of living space compared to a rectangular build. Builders in this space commonly cite savings in the range of 30% less material in the outer wall framing and sheathing compared to a standard rectilinear structure of the same floor area. I want to be precise about that number, so this stays honest. That 30% figure is specifically about the perimeter wall framing and exterior sheathing, since a circle simply has less linear footage of wall to build for the same interior space. Your foundation and your roofing materials still scale closely with total square footage no matter what shape you build, so the savings show up in one part of the build, not the entire budget. Less material is not the only win. Round structures handle wind incredibly well. There are no flat walls for wind to slam into and push against. The force just wraps around the curve instead of loading up on one flat face like it does on a conventional rectangular wall. That is a big reason round homes have a long track record of surviving hurricanes and severe storms that flatten conventional framing. Deltec Homes in particular has built its entire reputation on this, with homes that have stood through direct hurricane hits on the North Carolina coast for decades, while neighboring rectangular structures took serious damage. Then there is the interior feel, which is honestly the part that surprises people the most. Round homes have no load-bearing interior walls in most designs, because the roof structure is a radial truss system that meets at a central ring, transferring weight outward to the circular wall instead of down through interior partitions. That means the inside of the home can be laid out however you want, with total flexibility, and the open circular flow makes even a 300-square-foot tiny house feel dramatically bigger than its footprint suggests. There's a reason people describe walking into one of these homes as feeling like the space is embracing them instead of boxing them in. There's also a documented energy efficiency bonus that comes from the same shape. Round homes naturally promote more even airflow throughout the interior, which several round home manufacturers estimate translates into roughly 15 to 20% lower heating and cooling costs compared to a similarly sized rectangular home. Let's talk about real builders and real numbers, because that is what this channel is about. Deltec Homes is the name most people eventually find when they go down this rabbit hole. They are not a tiny house company specifically. They build round homes at every size. But in 2026, they launched something aimed directly at the tiny house and backyard studio crowd, called the Backyard Cottage line. Two models, called Refuge and Sanctuary, sized at 326 and 517 square feet. Each one is a simple open studio layout with a single interior wall, just for the bathroom, which keeps the interior feeling like one continuous light-filled room. For pricing, Deltec's own numbers put the total turnkey cost to build one of their round homes, meaning the shell kit plus local site work plus interior finishes, at roughly $250 to $600 per square foot, depending on finish level and site conditions. Independent prefab review sites estimate a similar range, around $256 to $425 plus per square foot for their pre-designed signature collection homes. On a 326 square foot backyard cottage, that puts you somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $160,000 fully finished, which is genuinely more than a comparable rectangular tiny house of the same size. We will come back to why in a minute, because that is the part nobody wants to tell you. On the smaller and more DIY-friendly end, there's a company called Mandala Custom Homes, known for a round, tiny home that is 21 feet in diameter. A circle that size works out to a gross footprint of roughly 346 square feet, and once you factor in their thick, highly insulated, energy-efficient wall panels, the usable net interior living space lands right around 322 square feet. During construction, a temporary center post supports the radial roof truss system while it goes up, and once the roof is fully self-supporting, that post comes out completely, leaving a totally open floor plan with zero interior structural walls. Then there's Smiling Woods Yurts, based out of the Methow Valley in Washington State, a company with decades of experience building permanent, insulated, code-compliant wooden round homes evolved directly from the traditional yurt shape, using solid wood wall panels and precision machine kits instead of canvas and felt. Their lineup runs in 5 standard sizes, starting around 300 square feet with a model they call the Birch 20, moving up through the 510 square foot Maple 25, the 730 square foot Cedar 30, and the Ponderosa 35, all the way up to the 1,200 plus square foot Sequoia 41 for a full-size family home. As a rough budgeting rule, Smiling Woods tells buyers to expect the kit itself to run about 1/3 of the total finished project cost, with the remaining 2/3 going toward foundation, site work, interior finishes, and local labor, and they cite the same 15 to 20% energy savings that round home design tends to produce. That range from a 300 square foot backyard studio kit to a 1,200 square foot family home shows you this shape genuinely scales in both directions. And if you want to go even smaller and faster, there are modern fabric and felt yurt companies building circular structures that go up in as little as 5 days at a fraction of the cost per square foot of a permitted wood framed round tiny house. Though those come with a big asterisk we need to talk about, because a fabric yurt and a permitted round tiny house are legally very different animals. And most jurisdictions will not treat them the same way when it comes to permanent residency. Now here's the thing almost every roundhouse video glosses over, and it is the reason I said earlier you should stick around to the end. Round costs more to build than square, not less, despite using less material. I know that sounds backwards after everything I just told you about efficiency, but think about what a contractor actually has to do to build a curve. Every wall panel, every piece of trim, every window opening, every section of siding has to be custom cut or specially manufactured to follow the radius of a circle instead of a straight line. Standard lumber, standard drywall sheets, and standard trim pieces are all made for 90-degree corners. The moment you introduce a curve, you are paying either for specialized manufacturing, like Deltec's precision-built radial panel system, or Smiling Woods' panelized kit approach, or for a framing crew that has to hand-cut and fit every single piece on site, which takes far more labor hours than snapping up a straight wall. Curved drywall alone is a specialty trade in most markets. It often has to be wetted, scored, and bent in stages around a curved framework, or replaced entirely with flexible bending panels that cost more per sheet than standard drywall. Custom radial metal roofing has to be fabricated in wedge-shaped panels that all meet perfectly at a central ring. Segmented geometric siding has to be cut at matching angles so the seams line up around the entire circumference without gaps. None of that is beginner DIY work. It requires genuinely skilled local labor, and skilled labor is the most expensive line item in any build. That labor premium is exactly why Deltec's per square foot cost sits at the higher end of the tiny home market, at $250 to $600 per square foot, compared to the roughly $100 to $250 per square foot that a professionally built rectangular tiny house typically runs in 2026. You are trading material savings on the outer wall for labor and manufacturing costs everywhere else. And in almost every case, labor wins that trade, which pushes your total price higher, not lower. There is a second hidden cost too, and it is furniture. A rectangular room fits a rectangular couch, a rectangular bed frame, a rectangular kitchen cabinet run, with zero wasted space. A circular room forces you to either buy custom curved furniture, which is expensive and hard to find, or accept awkward triangular gaps of what tiny house enthusiasts call dead space. Those wedge-shaped pockets of unusable floor that form behind any straight-back furniture pushed up against a curved wall. Most round tiny house owners end up doing a mix of built-in curved shelving, which has to be custom carpeted to hug the wall, and standard furniture placed strategically so the dead space does not feel wasted, sometimes turning those gaps into planters, reading nooks, or curved bookshelves instead of fighting them. It works, and it can look absolutely stunning when done right, but it is one more line item that a square tiny house build simply does not have. And then there's financing and permitting, which honestly might be the biggest practical hurdle of all. Most banks and most tiny house lenders are used to evaluating conventional rectangular structures. A round home is harder for an appraiser to comp against nearby sales, because there usually are not any nearby round homes to compare it to, and appraisals lean heavily on finding similar recent sales. Some counties have never processed a permit for a circular residential structure and will slow walk your application simply because their checklist assumes straight walls and standard roof pitches. None of this makes a round, tiny house impossible to finance or permit. Companies like Deltec have been doing it successfully across all 50 states for decades. But it does mean you need to budget extra time and expect more back and forth with your local building department than you would with a standard rectangular build. So who actually thrives in a round, tiny house? If you're chasing the rock-bottom, lowest price per square foot, this is not your build. A simple rectangular shotgun-style tiny house will beat it on cost almost every single time, and no amount of clever marketing changes that math. But if what you actually want is a home that feels dramatically more open and alive than its square footage suggests, that shrugs off severe weather better than almost any other tiny house shape on the market, that runs measurably more energy efficient thanks to that natural airflow pattern, and that genuinely stands out as a piece of architecture rather than just another box on wheels, the round tiny house earns every extra dollar it costs. It also tends to appeal to buyers who want their home to feel less like a shipping container and more like a retreat, a meditation space, a studio, or a full-time residence that just feels calmer to be inside. It is a design choice built on thousands of years of structural logic, independently discovered by cultures with no contact with each other, now available with modern insulation, modern permitting, and modern finishes from serious builders like Deltec, Mandala, and Smiling Woods, who have collectively spent decades perfecting the shape. If this video showed you a side of tiny house living you had never considered, tap that like button so more people see it. Drop a comment telling me whether you would actually live in a round house, and subscribe so you do not miss the next video, where we are breaking down another tiny house design that most people have never even heard of. See you in the next one.